Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. We're going to be talking about Browning Chapter 8. Let me go do a screen share. Okay. Browning Chapter 8 again. In Downs, we talked about federal grants, and we're going to talk a little bit more about federal grants. Talk about the Federal Department of Education grants, particularly, as though being in education, generally, you do get federal grants or go for federal grants from the Department of Education. But here in Fresno, and all the different people who work in helping kids uh, don't only apply to the Department of Education. A lot of money comes off also from the Department of Agriculture, and helping kids and farm worker kids and the farm worker communities that are throughout the Central Valley. But today we're going to be talking about the Department of Education. Okay, let's see. Let's go forward here. Okay, the big kahuna, yeah, I guess so. The federal grant are the big grants, multi-year grants, lots of money. Everybody in the nation's competing. They're very highly technical. You can lose points for the most minute details that are left out. Every time I've had to write a federal grant, and I think I'll also admit this is the area where I have the least expertise in is in federal grants. I've only written maybe 4 or 5 federal grants, and so I only get to write maybe one of these every year. And so, but anyway, they are highly technical. When I've written them, I've made sure that every nuanced detail was addressed. These are definitely the largest funding opportunity, and also opportunities for pass-through funding, where you get the funding and you may, as a district, and district passes it on to the schools, etc. Okay, etc. Okay, so the electronic submission is the grants.gov system, and you do need to create an account. I'm going to go ahead and split windows so I can bring in the system so you can see how it looks. Okay, I just signed into my account. Let me make this one a little bit smaller. Can you see that? You guys cannot see that. Let me see if close that out and go here, select um, screen 2, no, screen 1, no, screen 3. There we go. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Screen 3. Okay. So this is how it looks, the grants.gov system. I just signed in. Using the workspace is ultimately where you submit your grant. So you'll become very familiar with that. But here, let's just say we were going to search for a grant. We would go to, search grants. That's after you get an account, right? And there's ooh, thousands of and thousands of grants. But I think if we're going to search, say, I don't know, gangs, say we want to work with gangs. Okay, if I click on that, okay, and I'm going to say anything that's forecasted or posted, not anything that's closed or archived. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and click search. Relevance descending. Make this one a little bit bigger. No results. Okay. Okay, there's nothing related to gangs. How about, I don't know, elementary? Elementary. Okay, quite a bit of elementary. Well, not that many, but um, so we're going to look at an environmental education grant program. Click on that one, right? And it gives you here a little bit of the summary of what the description of the grant is, what it does. And then if you click here, this is the program, discretionary funding. If we go here to related documents and you click on this, the zip folder, I had downloaded this earlier. Okay. There. Okay. This is the Environmental Education Grant Program. This is called the RFP, right? Or the FON, funding opportunity number. The FO, funding opportunity, and this is the funding opportunity number, right? This is going to be about, not too long, 30 pages, right? But if you go through and you see, this here's going to tell you what this program is about. The funding details, they're going to give 16 of these grants, and there's 3.2 million. So maybe $300,000 grant. This is a 2-year grant, between 1 and 2 years, right? And these are who's eligible to apply. LEAs, that's all of you, maybe nonprofits, colleges, etc. Right? These are the ones that are not eligible, or ineligible. Okay. Going through, it's going to tell you exactly ineligible costs, what they're not funding. It's going to show you here the formula for funding, purpose, priorities, and activities, what they're looking for. You got to read this very closely to see what it is that they want. Right here, increase public awareness and understanding of local and regional environmental issues. You can easily do this from a school perspective. Equip participants, especially being here in the Central Valley, right, where we can do an environmental program with, the San Juan Key Observatory, or anything related to, all of our rural communities, etc. Okay. There's a priority. Anything with artificial intelligence is going to be a priority. Right. Environmental, here's the activities, etc. You keep reading through. This is really how a call for grants is. This is how they call and say, hey, we have money. This is what you have to do to get the money. Okay, you got a work plan that is summary, cover page. You don't only a 10-page limit on this grant. Very interesting. Very, very doable. Okay. And then submit each file, total of 5 files. They tell you exactly how to do it. They want the budget, timeline, logic model, programmatic capabilities, partnerships, all of those things. And that's the order you do them in. Give you all the details of this grant. Okay. All right. Go through, you read through it. This is all the details on all the different pieces. Submission requirements, how to submit it. Okay. And here is the rubric. As we've been talking about the rubric, the work plan is going to be 60 points. Is there an overview of it? Right. 60 points. The attachments are 40 points. So it looks like it's in total it's going to be 100 points, I think. All right. One they're going to award you, the one they're going to give you the notice of award. Okay, there it is. That one seems pretty easy, actually. If anybody was interested in environmentalism and teaching environmental, something, maybe hooking something up with the zoo or anything of that nature, right? Golden Charter Academy probably would be very interested in that grant if anybody knows them, or right, because they do a lot of environmental education. Okay, so I'm going back here. Okay. So that's the grants.gov system. You got to save your work frequently in the workspace that they have there for you to submit your grant. Right. Deciphering the application notice, we just talked about that. The CDFA number, that's the number that we just talked about, the CDFA number that we talked about. Let me see, where was that grant? CDFA number. There it is, right there. That's the number that you're going to need. That every federal grant has a unique CDFA number. CFDA, I'm sorry. And the selection criteria. Cover sheet, assurances, budget forms, certifications. And then a needs statement, a project design, management, and evaluation. All of these things are built into the narrative that they want. Okay. Use language from the criteria, right? As earlier as we said, right? This is what they're looking for. Tell them that's exactly what you're doing, right? Where they talk about here, this piece of the purpose, priorities, and activities. Read this very carefully so you can understand what they want, and then you basically tell them this is what you're going to be doing. Okay. I mean, not exactly. You got to put your own flavor and your own nuance, and you got to make it something local, right? Otherwise, your application won't stand out. But don't be afraid to utilize some of their wording and some of their language. Okay. And then show national impact. How does serving kids in Fresno, how is that going to have a national impact? Okay. Okay, single point of contact. Who is the single point of contact? Who's the main person essentially on the grant? Intergovernmental review, and then legislative awareness. Okay. All right. Rejection. Hopefully you don't get rejected, but it's really, really hard to get a federal grant the first time around. Not that you can't, but it really is. So you got to request the comments. Why did they reject it? You have to know why, because if you spend that much time writing a federal grant, you better resubmit it the next time that money opens up again. And how do you know how to improve on your grant that you have? Well, you got to get their comments and from the reviewers, so you can know exactly how to tweak your proposal, how to get the maximum points. Okay, because there's a lot of quantitative analysis to this, even though it is a qualitative process. Okay, and you revise, resubmit, and you persist till the very end. Okay, get comfortable with the federal system. That's this one, the grants.gov system. Get really comfortable, right? I think I put in elementary. Searched, and these would be the grants that I might look into. And these close. I mean, obviously, some of them already closed. If you click this to get the closing date, right? A lot of these are, well, actually, none of them have closed. All of them are still open. Okay. And then a technical assistance for every grant. They're going to have a webinar that's going to walk you through that document I just walked you through. They're going to walk you through it, and they're going to let you ask questions. Okay, and then think nationally, but act strategically and for local service. That's what we're all here for, is to serve the greater Fresno area. Okay, all right. Thank you very much.